ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. So his words are like nectar, and it brings peace, solace, and happiness to the suffering people. It has been praised by great saints, and because it removes impurities from our mind. And when we hear this name, then it is good for the ears, it is a blessing for the soul, and it continues together with us as the blessing. So I will go directly to the question which we were dealing with last time in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that Master Mahasaya has come to Sri Ramakrishna during his second visit. And Sri Ramakrishna initially asked a few questions. After that, Master Mahasaya, M. Mahendranath Gupta, different names himself has given to himself. So he asked his second question. Second question is, how should one live in this world? We were reading that question last time. Now, to understand the implications of the answers given by Sri Ramakrishna there, we need to understand our own perspective. How should one live in this world? That is, how should I live in this world? That is my question. So, and who am I? I am, as a creature, born in this world. As a creature, I am born. Therefore, I am destined to die. But this is not all. The story does not end here. We have the right and also the scope to convert this catastrophe in life, which is called death, into a creative crisis. Crisis should be converted into an opportunity. That is what is called a creative crisis. In fact, we can turn any challenge in life, whatever big or small that may be, into a creative crisis. Then life itself becomes, and actually is, an opportunity. Then and then alone, we all can say that our birth is a blessing, our life is a blessing, and believe it or not, we will be able to say that our death is and will become a blessing. It will become a blessing in and through each moment of our life. Difficult to understand, difficult to accept, isn't it? Well, now let us think it this way. If freedom is our goal, then freedom from bondage is surely a blessing. If the freedom is our goal, then freedom is a blessing. It is a blessing even when we are trying to get out of the bondage. So whatever we are doing to get out of bondage and to be free, everything will give us a taste of that freedom. Therefore, life will become a blessing if we are in search of bliss. each and every part of the life will become a blessing. The magicians, they show many dangerous tricks. One magician I saw tied his legs to a pole with ropes. He had very less time, suppose 3 minutes, to untie the knots of the ropes and then get out of that spot. Otherwise, he would be crushed by a falling stone. See, he went on trying and untying the knots. So he went on untying the knots one by one. With each effort, he was getting closer and closer to his freedom. I will quote two lines from the famous book Man's Search for Meaning, written by Viktor E. Frankl, a famous book. In German, he wrote this book, Trotzdem Ja zum Leben sagen. That is original German. So Man's Search for Meaning, that is in English. He has written, it is not freedom from conditions. It is not freedom from conditions, but it is freedom to take a stand toward the conditions. It is not freedom from conditions, but what we want is freedom to take a stand towards the conditions. Then he writes, it is this spiritual freedom which cannot be taken away from us that makes life meaningful and purposeful. We live in this world. Sri Ramakrishna has said, and also Holy Mother has said, it is not bad to live in this world. It is not bad to live in this world, but it is bad to be of the world. It is not bad to live in this world, but it is bad to be of the world, to be worldly. So, how to live in this world? If that is the question, then the answer is like this. We have to go step by step. So we live in this world. We cannot deny that fact. But it is not bad. The bad thing about it is that if we become worldly. Now the word we means and includes everyone. A monk, a nun, a married person, an unmarried person, etc., etc. That means the word we does not exclude anyone. It does not discriminate between who is a standard, who is normal, who is equal, who is more equal, who is less equal. Does not discriminate. This does not ask of what color you are, what gender you are, whether you are man or woman or otherwise. It does not ask what wealth you possess. Everyone has the right to freedom, because there lives an Atman, a soul, a divine self in a body. And this Atman is the same in all, and it is one. It is the same kingdom of heaven in every human being. Human rights are for all who are humans. We live in the world, in this world. Therefore, what we have to do, we have to perform our duties. That is the next answer. We have to live in this world by performing our duties, either by choice or by assignment. we have to do. Either we have to choose it or we will be asked to do. We will be forced to do. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, even because of your delusion, if you don't want to do anything in this world, but your nature will force you to do that helplessly. Your nature will compel you to do that. Actually, Sri Krishna uses the word avashopi. You will be helpless, powerless before the demand of your duties. So, we have said that we live in this world, we have to perform our duties. And what is duty actually? There are two really nice explanations or interpretations, definitions of duty. Someone says that duty is the penalty we have to pay for our attachment. And the poet has said, duty is the stern daughter of the voice of God. Anyway, we will discuss this slowly because we are dealing with that type of a question. There are four kinds of duties in general, four kinds of duties. Duty to one's own self, that is the first duty. Duty to one's own self. Then duty to one's own family, society, and humanity. The idea is my duty towards my own self should have a bearing on human duties, or it should have a bearing on human goodness. It should do good to all humanity. It should have an implication that it will be applicable universally. That is what is called categorical imperative by Immanuel Kant. But thing is that charity begins at home. We have to fulfill our duties to our own self first. If I am not strong, how can I help some other people? Therefore, I have to love myself. If I love myself, then I'm loving myself not as a body, but as the divine self. Then only I will be able to love my husband, my wife, my children, my society, and so on and so forth. Therefore, the love first begins with our own self. Loving my own self is valuing myself, giving value to myself. We can value ourselves in spite of our defects, deficiencies, and difficulties. Still, we can value ourselves. That means we have to love our own self as the Atman, the self, not as the body, not as a good worker, not as a great intellect, not as a celebrity, not as a big sportsman, but as the self, as the divine being. Let me assure you that it is not selfish to love my own self. It is not selfish to love your own self. Rather, it is the foundation of empathy or holy love. It is not selfish because it is based on my love of the divinity in me. And the nature of this divine self is that it is unlimited and it is in all. Sri Ramakrishna, there is an anecdote from the life of Swami Vivekananda. Sri Ramakrishna asked him when he was a young boy, asked him, a very intelligent person. So Sri Ramakrishna asked him, suppose there is a bowl of nectar. You are a fly. How will you drink of it? How will you drink of this nectar? Then Swami Vivekananda, that time he was Naren, he was clever, intelligent. So he said, I will sit on the edge of the rim and then with stretched neck, I will drink of it. Sri Ramakrishna asked, why don't you plunge into it? Then he said, no, if I plunge into it, I will die. Sri Ramakrishna laughed heartily. He said, no, you will not die. You will become immortal because that is the nature of nectar, Amritam. It makes you immortal. And that is the nature of the self. So that is what I am loving in me. So if I love myself, that self which lives in me as the divine self, I will not become selfish because that is not the nature of the self. Rather, I will find myself in all, the same self in all. So I will become rather selfless. I will find myself in all. I will lose myself, my individual self, my limited and small self in all. Question is how much do we value ourselves? How much do I value myself? The answer is I value myself in proportion to the love I have for myself. I value myself in proportion to the love I have for myself. And that I have said, what is that myself? That is the self which lives in me. And it is easy to detect how much I love myself and how much I value myself. It is easy to be detected by me, or it is easy to be detected by others also. In the Gita, Sri Krishna says that Sarva Dwareshu Dehesmin Prakasam Upajayate. If good qualities develop in me, spiritual qualities develop in me, then that will show up, that will manifest through all pores of my being. It will shine through all doors and pores of my body. How? How will it show up? That others will understand? It will show up in the form of our daily habits. Our daily habits will show how much we value ourselves. My daily habit will prove how much I value myself. And ultimately, how much I love my own self. Our daily habits will prove. So the way I live, my natural behavior will show how much value I give to myself. So therefore, if we have to live in this world, so we have to perform our duties, and these are our duties. That first duty is to myself, and then my duty towards others. This is the train of the answer we will find in Sri Ramakrishna's answer to the second question. So that is why I am discussing these points beforehand. And when we do our duties, there are laws also, which actually control our duties, discipline our duties. As there are material laws, physical laws, psychological laws, there are spiritual laws. Our duties in this world also follow laws, and those laws are called moral laws. Now the thing is that if we become moral or if we become spiritual, that will deprive us from funds of life, from all funds in life. This is one question we always ask and which always torment us. Actually speaking, we have to check if our definition of fun, if our definitions of fun are self-defeating, if our definitions of fun are not actually funny. Sometimes we will see that our definition of fun is really funny. So that we have to check. At the end of the fun, we will see what was the gain or benefit, spiritual benefit, or moral benefits we derived. And what is the implication of that benefit for the whole of humanity? Now the question is, which principles should be the universal laws? Which principles should be there to guide these universal moral laws? Once I heard a talk by Richard Dawkins. He is a confirmed atheist, very well-known atheist, Oxford evolutionary biologist. He told that religious principles are the highest foundation for moral laws. See, a, an atheist is confirming this fact that religious principles are spiritual principles. They are the highest foundation of moral laws. So moral laws work from a spiritual sense of our duties. And that is why that is universal. And universal ethics is meant for everyone. Now there are two types of ethics. One is called meta-ethics, another is personal ethics. Meta-ethics means the ethics which is meant for all, which will be doing good to a maximum number of people for a maximum length of time. But the meta-ethics, that which is propagated or championed by Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, that has to be judged by the result we derive. So if the result is ethical, then the work, duty I have performed is ethical. That is what is called meta-ethics, because I sacrificed my small interest or a bigger interest. Sacrificing my small interest may look unethical from an individual standpoint. But if I place this individual against a universal perspective, then I will see that I have done the most ethical act or duty. That is called meta-ethics. The result should be ethical, and then it is called meta-ethics. And individual ethics will be judged by the means we take to perform a duty, not by the result, by the means. The way we perform the duty, the means we take to perform the duty should be moral. These are the two different things about our duties. So we have to keep it in mind that if necessary, then we have to sacrifice our petty interest, small interest, individual interest for the betterment of a bigger number of humanity, bigger number of people. And that is not unethical. So duty is controlled by the concept of ethics. And if I am performing my duty towards myself, then it should be seen that I'm not depriving others of their benefits. Rather, when I sacrifice my benefit for the good of others, then that is more ethical. So these are the two ideas we should keep in mind when discussing the idea of duty. Now we have seen that this life is nothing but a bundle of duties, and we are going on performing this life. Is there no escape from duties? Sometimes we may think like that. Why do we think so much about this? And is there no escape from duties, that we live a life without being bothered about what is my duty or not? The Gita and Sri Krishna says, yes, there is a way. If you want to get out of this problem, there is a way to escape it. They say yes, but being a monk will not help you to get out of your duty. Since none of us live in a vacuum, we have to perform some duties so that we can claim our rights. This is the understanding of our total responsibility. Responsibility means response plus ability. It means it is our ability to respond to the call of our duty That is what is called responsibility. In the Charter of Human Rights, we have all rights. There is no duties. But first you fulfill your duties, then you will be given the rights. Otherwise, how do we derive rights? Only rights and no duties. So Sri Ramakrishna says that those who have gone really mad, for them no law is on them no law is applicable. A mad person cannot be taken to court of laws. So if someone has become mad in the name of God or in the love of God, then no laws about duty or right will apply to that blessed one. The difference between a mentally mad person and a person mad after God is that no laws apply on the first one, that who is mad, mentally mad. No laws apply to the first one. And the second one, who is mad after God, mad in the name of God, in the love of God, the second one, for him, there is no question of applying law. He has gone beyond the applicability of laws or transcended the applicabilities of law. That is what is called going beyond the three gunas. This is very well discussed in the Gita by Sri Krishna, that when someone goes beyond these gunas, then someone goes beyond the Shrotavyasya Shrotasya cha, means beyond the prescribed rules and rules about duties. So that person actually has transcended the requirement or laws of the duty. So Sri Krishna, in the 14th chapter of the Gita, Sri Krishna has given a big list of what type of people are they who will be able to get out of this laws of duty. So he has said that those who live like unconcerned witnesses, nothing in this world really disturbs that person. And those who are unperturbed by the sense objects, who know that it is the senses and their objects who actually act and enjoy. So he is not disturbed or not perturbed. Those who maintain their calmness in both pleasure and pain, who do not lose themselves under trying situations, difficult situations, who are unmoved by praise and blame, by hate and love, honor and humiliation. There are a big list of such things, but these are a few things which will help us to remember. Sri Krishna says at another place in the Gita that people who can be at peace with themselves, who can love their own self, who is self-contented, not self-centered, for such people there remains no duty. Tasya karyam na vidyate, Sri Krishna says in the Gita. For that person, there is no question of duty. And if they perform their duties and we see that they do perform their duty, that means that they do all duties for the good of others. They are not actually performing duties in the proper sense of the term, but they are doing these duties for the good of others. Such persons are said to have transcended the rules of ethics. Now, I said that we have to do our duty either by choice or being assigned. Now, that is the question. That is the meaning of the question asked by Master Mahasaya. Now, we have to remember who is questioning whom. In this context, we have to remember, because this is very important. We are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So the teacher is a spiritual person, and it is of extreme importance and significance that there is an incarnation of God, not a saint, not a sage. There is an incarnation of God who is speaking in human language. The Kathopanishad says that when Nachiketa was asked by Yama, you go back. Nachiketa told Yama that I am asking you this question. I want to get answer from you because I will not get a better teacher other than yourself. Vakta chasya twadri ganyunalab. You are the authority. You know both sides of the story. Yama was the king of death. He knows what happens before death and he knows what happens after death. So therefore, he was the best person with practical knowledge to advise Nachiketa. Similarly, here we see that here is a speaker who is not available every day, available, whose teachings are not available in every book. We will not get an incarnation of God to speak to us, advising us in solving our own problems, day-to-day problems. And in the midst of that, how we can make headway in the spiritual path that he is teaching. We will not get such a teacher for advising us in our day-to-day life. Everyone may come and tell how to realize God, go and realize God. But how to tackle the problem which we have at hand, and then we can go for realizing God. That is fine. So Swamiji, Sri Ramakrishna said, Khali pete dharma hai na. If you have got trouble supplying food for your stomach, then you cannot think of high spiritual values or think of God at that time. So he said, first thing is first. So Khali pete dharma hai na, he said. So here we see that Sri Ramakrishna is speaking to us. And it is not every day that you will find someone like an incarnation of God coming down in human form. You see, our problem is, that's what Sri Krishna says. He laments, very disappointedly laments in the Gita, Sri Krishna. He says that people don't take me seriously because they think that I'm an ordinary human being with human forms. That is the problem, he says. People do not take me seriously, take my words seriously, thinking that I am an ordinary being. Why? Then he says, worldly people's minds have become almost numbed or insensitive like stone by the impact of demoniac influences. Worldly people's minds have become almost numbed or insensitive like stone by the impact of demoniac influences. What are those demoniac influences? Like vain expectations, fruitless actions, and confused understandings. He says, Moghasha, Mogha Karma, Mogha Jnana Vichetasa. They are almost insensitive, numbed. Therefore, here you see that both the teacher and the student, they are those who are discussing spiritual matters, they are competent. Both are competent. So, the same Kathopanishad says that wonderful is the speaker and blessed is the student. Wonderful is the speaker, blessed is the student, and this thing happened only once. That's what we come to know from an anecdote from the life of Ramana Maharshi. Someone came, young man came to Maharshi and asked, Sir, have you seen God? Then Maharshi smiled, looked at him and said, My dear, I am not Sri Ramakrishna that you are asking this question to me. And to be sure, you are not Vivekananda. This happened only once, and it cannot be repeated like this every day. So it is well and good if we ourselves to choose to live in the world the way we like. That is our own choice. We are forced by our nature to choose our own path and go by our own way. We don't care about the words of the great people, words of the scriptures. That is fine. But if we have a question which is directed towards ourselves, we are wise, then the wise way or clever way to live in the world is to connect ourselves to something which is beyond the span of our physical existence. We may call it God, who he or she may be, we don't know, but we may call him God. Therefore, we can live a life keeping the ultimate goal, not the immediate goals, but ultimate goal of our life in view. That awareness should continue. Suppose I have to go to the other shore of the river. I need to buy a boat. So I take up a job to earn enough money to buy that boat. Then when I buy the boat, I give up that money, what I accumulated, and get the boat. And now when I go to the other shore, I give up the boat and go to the other shore. So, but the thing is that during the whole process, my understanding that I have to go to that other shore, and till I went to the other shore, the whole process was guided by one thought that I would be there on the other shore. Therefore, life's journey is the same, goal oriented. Whatever we do, everything should be goal oriented. Now we see that Sri Ramakrishna has given examples how to live in this world. This question is being answered. Sri Ramakrishna has given a few examples. He has given the example of the maid servant in a rich man's house. This may not be the tradition nowadays. I don't know. Some parts of some countries, this may be also true. That maid servants used to live in the house of big rich people. So a maid servant, she lives with the family of her employer, not with her own family. She lives with the family of her employer away from home, away from her own home. And she goes to her own home during holidays, suppose. She gets some days off, then she goes to her home. The significance of this example is that what Sri Ramakrishna has discussed here is that number one, that the whole lot of our duties in the world, including earning money by doing a job, etc., can also be helpful to our spiritual journey, provided we keep the spiritual goal in mind. Any job we take up, any kind of vocation, could be helpful to take me to my spiritual goal, provided I keep that spiritual goal in mind. So keeping that standard always in mind. Now let me give the example which I use many times. That is a nice example. When a dog bites me, suppose a dog bites me, I cannot bite the dog in return. Even though we know that the Newton's third law of motion says for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Here the reaction that I did not bite the dog in return was controlled by me. It is not equal and opposite. I did not buy it in return. I do this. I hold me back because I have a sense of dignity as a human being. That controls me. That controls even my reactions. I know that I cannot stoop that low, that I will bite a dog in return. So they say that our actions do not prove who we are, but our reactions prove. We have known, we have trained ourselves with our actions, we know how to say hi, hello, etc., how to smile at people, but our reactions when the trying situation comes will prove what way we have transformed ourselves from inside. What is there inside, that will come out at that moment. Similarly, when we know that we have a spiritual goal to achieve, that we are divine beings, etc., our duties and our actions will be harmoniously organized towards that goal. That is why Sister Nivedita has said in the introduction to Swami Vivekananda's complete works. So there Sister Nivedita writes, if the many and the one be indeed the same reality, then it is not all modes of worship alone, but equally all modes of work, all modes of work, all modes of struggle, which are paths of realization, which are paths of God realization. No distinction henceforth between sacred and secular. To labor is to pray. That is what Sister Nivedita writes. Another point is that in this story of the maid servant, since our goal is spiritual, which brings meaning to our life which seems despairingly meaningless, we will find meaning in doing the employer's work wholeheartedly. Sri Ramakrishna says that she is taking care of the household, of the children of the employer wholeheartedly. There is no, she is not negligent about that. No compromise is accepted there. So therefore, we have to perform our duty. We have to be true to our employer's trust. Then, how should we live in this world? This is the answer to that question. Do your duty, whatever you have to do, even a job, and this kind of a job where you have been far removed from your own home. And the last point in this example is that the maid servant knows in her heart of hearts, that she does not belong to the home of the employer. This is not her own home. Believe it or not, we too do not belong here to this place. And nothing of this place belongs to us really. We have not created this world or anything in this world. Rather, even materially speaking, this world created our body and not the other way around. So we do not actually belong here. So Sri Ramakrishna says that her mind was with her own family in the village. So here she is there hiring a flat in Berlin to do her job. But she will go back when she gets some breaks. She will go back to her own place. Then Sri Ramakrishna cites the example of the mother tortoise. It is an easier version of the situation of the maid servant. The mother tortoise lives not far away from her eggs. She can come back from time to time to keep watch on her eggs. But the point here is that her mind is always aware of the eggs and is always alert over the eggs. These two things are mentioned here. Sri Ramakrishna tries to bring home these two ideas, that awareness and alertness. She is aware of her ex and she is alert that nothing bad happens to her ex. So one can live in this world. How to live in this world? One can live in this world by cultivating awareness and alertness in mind about one's own ultimate purpose of life. One can live in this world by cultivating awareness and alertness in the mind about one's ultimate purpose of life. This is the answer we get from the second example. And then she tells us what is the process of cultivating this awareness. What is the process of cultivating this awareness? Sri Ramakrishna says that enter the world first cultivating love for God, because world is opposite to God. And breaking he gives the example of the jackfruit. Jackfruit has got sticky milk. If you want to break open a jackfruit with hands, then you have to smear the hand first with oil. Then when you break open the jackfruit, then the sticky milk will not stick to your hands. And that is really, really badly sticky milk, very difficult to remove. So therefore, he says that you have to first cultivate love for God, and then you can live happily in the world by performing your duties. So, cultivating love for God. So, what is the way to cultivate love for God? You see, if I have not practiced means exercises, if I have not strengthened my body, I cannot help others with the help of my strength, physical strength. I have to build up my physical strength. It is exactly like that, building up our spiritual strength and then mingling with the world. But the question is, okay, I don't have that much time to build up my spiritual strength and then to get engaged with the world and with duties in the world. I don't have that much time. Life is very short. That is really true. So Sri Ramakrishna is not saying that first to do this and do that. No, it is exactly like that. If I say that until and unless I learn swimming, I'm not going to touch water. This is contradictory. So this both things will go hand in hand. So you live in this world and also keep your mind on God. So both things will be connected. That is the idea we have got. So Sri Ramakrishna gives a very simple advice, which includes many things in it. He says, go into solitude. Now and then go into solitude, he says. In Sanskrit, the word solitude is nirjana. Nirjana. Jana means human beings, people. And nirjana, it is a place where there nobody lives. So that is called solitary place in a forest. Actually speaking, I may go to the forest, but it's the same I who goes there. The I who was creating trouble in the family, in the society. So when I go into solitude, the same I goes. Nothing, the same product. So I cannot behave in a different way. So nirjana means a wonderful word it is in Sanskrit. Nirjana means a state of mind in which no other person lives. No other persons and things related to others lives. I belong to myself. No other distraction is there. I belong to myself. I am wholly for myself. Generally, it is helpful to be absent from a crowded place for some time and then go to a solitary place to practice one pointed devotion or concentration, at least to practice peace. Just be at peace with yourself, peace with the in harmony with the nature. Sri Ramakrishna also says that solitude helps us to be in charge of ourselves, to be our own boss. That is non-dependent on anybody or non-dependent on many types of adjustments. Daily, every day we are leading a life of adjustments from morning till evening and every week. So adjustments going on. And if we don't have to adjust with things and we are in a solitary place, we are in charge of ourselves, this will help us to discover ways of least resistance in order to organize our life. We can discover various ways to organize our life, and these ways we can discover the ways which are not very aggressive, paths of least resistance. And that we will learn how to organize our lives in the midst of hundreds and thousands of adjustments. Life is nothing but a bundle of adjustments. We will learn to appreciate that adjustment is the only way to peaceful living in this world. That is the only way. If we react to everything, then we get disturbed. We get so much reaction in our mind. Then the question will be how much to adjust. Thank God there is a wonderful answer to this. How much to adjust? There is no universal answer on a measurement scale. How much to adjust? A particular person's living in the solitude will train himself or herself, him or her, to assess. If I live in solitude, it will help me to assess how much I have to adjust under my situation. It is my problem. I should know. Each one has a different kind of situation. So our adjustments will be different. And when we have quiet time in solitude, then we will be able to adjust and readjust our ideas about adjustment and develop the software with newer versions every day. Because I am with myself. I have enough time to talk to myself. And I have enough time to understand what way I can be at peace and at the same time I can adjust. So every day my ideas will change. The software will get newer and newer versions. I can develop the software there. So most of us actually, what happens, most of us go into solitude for enjoying more excitement. And that is very true. Hence this suggestion. Go into solitude to develop spiritually. And spiritually means then you'll be more prepared to face this world, to adjust with this world. This is the answer to the second question. So what we have discussed is that we live in this world. This is the point we discussed first, that we live in this world because we are born in this world. So therefore our birth and death, everything is events in this world. So therefore we are in this world, and when we live in this world, we have to perform our duties to live in this world. And I said that there are four kinds of duty. The first duty is duty to myself, and other duties are growing more and more with my family, my society, and humanity. So I have to perform my duty to myself, and then only it will be easy for me to live in this world through myriads of adjustments. And there are laws disciplining the duties in the world. So there are two types of ethics I have told. That one is called meta-ethics, which can be judged to be ethical by the result it produces. And on individual ethics, that can be judged by the means we take. The means should be moral in individual ethics. And universal ethics, the result should be moral. The outcome of our action, duty should be moral. And I said that there is no way to escape the duty. Only escape route is that materially one should be mad to get out of material laws, and one should be mad after God, mad in the name of God, in love of God. Then that person transcends the necessity of duties. And I said that we have our own choice. We have to perform our duties by our choice or being assigned. So there, here we have seen that here is a wonderful teacher teaching a equally wonderful student. Therefore, it is not every day that we will get an incarnation of God talking to us, helping us in solving our day-to-day problems. A very, very ordinary day-to-day problem. And these problems are mostly common to all of us. So how to live in this world? Sri Ramakrishna says that you have to live like a maid servant who lives far away from home, but the mind is always in her own home in the village. So that constant awareness should be there. Even if we are engaged in worldly duties, because we have to anyway earn money. Sri Krishna says, if you don't do these things, then sharira yatra picha te na prasiddhyeda karmani. If you don't do these duties, then you won't be able to nurture your body, you won't get money. So therefore, you have to do something. Otherwise, you won't be able to maintain your body. Then Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of the mother tortoise. Here, 2 points he stressed, that awareness and alertness. These two things should be going together, hand in hand. Alertness in Hindi, it is a wonderful word, savadhan. Savadhan means to be very alert. Sadhu savadhan, they say. In India, sadhu savadhan. Oh monk, be alert. Try very means mm, try to be very aware that you have to protect your own vows, monastic vows. So savadhan means alert. So then if we live in this world by cultivating this awareness and alertness in mind about our own spiritual, ultimate spiritual purpose, then that will be helpful to live in this world. And then he said the process of cultivating this awareness and alertness, then he said that one simple solution he gave that go into solitude. And there you will be able to check your own mind and also develop yourself, even practically how to tackle the problems and adjust without creating much more stress for yourself. So this is the answer to the second question that Mahendranath asked, how to live in this world. Even the third, fourth questions also, they will be dealing with the same thing from a different standpoint or angle, viewpoint. So that we will take up next time, the third question and fourth question. Thank you very much for attending this session. I stop here today.